be introducing our judges, but we do have several people who have stepped up to help with tonight's contest. First and foremost in my mind is our chief judge, Ed Keaney. Ed has pulled together a collection of judges to work on this contest tonight, and I am indebted to him for his work in that regard. I am indebted to our Sergeant at Arms, Mike Anthony, for stepping out of the judging role and into the Sergeant at Arms role. I don't think that may get Ed very happy, but it really pleased me. And so we have a Sergeant at Arms who will be helping our candidates, our contestants, with their obligations tonight. And finally and foremost, running the rest of this contest is our Toastmaster, Brent Wilcox. And I've known Brent for a very short period of time and found him to be an exceptionally competent Toastmaster. Our target speaker tonight comes to us from another district. His name is Jonathan Abuyan, and our Toastmaster will be introducing him when the time comes for our target speaker to provide us with his speech. So please help me welcome Brent Wilcox, and I will mute myself.
Thank you, Victoria. Let's see, there's a couple things we need to cover as far as the meeting goes for some housekeeping. Please refrain from using chat. It's a distraction to our speakers. Just remember that. Turn off your video and remove any profile pictures for audience members anyway during the contest. And if you're not speaking, mute yourself. I like to mute myself quite often. It helps my wife live longer. Let's see, we have, if we have severe technical issues, the chief judge will determine if the contest can continue or not. And during the contest, we'll have a minute of silence after each speaker. And after the final speech, all judges will move to a breakout room. Let's see. I'm to ask the chief judge if all contestants, judges, and functionaries have been briefed.
They have, sir.
All righty. Our target speaker, as Victoria mentioned, is Jonathan Abuyan. I believe I'm pronouncing his name correctly, given his phonetic instructions here. And he's from the New Horizons Club, which is in Vancouver, Washington. A nice town, Vancouver. I've been there many times. He's a civil engineer working for the Washington State Department of Transportation, if I've got that correct, Jonathan. And I would like to invite you to tell us what the topic of your speech is. Or the title, I should say.
Didn't I put it on my profile?
Yeah, you're expecting me to read it? Oh, yes. A waste of time. And I'm certain his speech will not be a waste of time. So I will mute myself and you can take it away.
When following your passion offers no financial gain, some people say it is a waste of time. But is your time wasted when you get some benefits in return? Mr. Toastmaster and you all listening, when I was young in the Philippines, I thought of December not only as the season of overeating, but also as a celebration of poetry. Our church would host a Christmas show with children and young people reciting poetry in English and Tagalog, our own language. The organizer was always my mother, who was also my second grade teacher. And when you're the teacher's pet, what you want is what you get. When I was 8, I wanted Christmas Bells by Longfellow. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play, and wild and sweet the words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to men. The audience applauded The audience applause flattered me and made me memorize and deliver more poetry. In our high school, there was one talent show. Some students were dancing and singing. One guy was a Neil Diamond wannabe. Sweet Caroline, dum dum dum. He did not sound like Diamond, but he was applauded like some Filipino idol. For my performance, I delivered the Shakespearean soliloquy, to be or not to be. I heard, boo, your English diction is awful. Some classmates later said, John, poetry is for boring and eccentric geeks. It is nothing but a waste of time. I ignored them. Then it was time to contemplate about college. I considered majoring in poetry, imagining that someday I'd be paid to perform on stage. One discouraging person suddenly appeared and said, your father might want you to be a CPA like his cousin. A poetry major starves. If you're lucky to find a job as a poet, your take-home pay would not even take you home. Never let anyone chase you away from your passion. But I did. I yielded to that discouraging person who was my mean alter ego. My alter ego chose a major that's so unpoetic, engineering. After college, I had 4 major life changes. I resettled in America, entered public service as a civil engineer for Washington State DOT, became a father, and got married. Well, not exactly in that order. One day at work, while I was inspecting a highway construction, a falling fir tree hit my head, breaking my helmet into pieces. That was near Mount St. Helens, and I was airlifted to the hospital. I had a concussion. Doctors examined my brain. They found nothing wrong. But I was worried about my memory. So I resorted to memorizing poetry again. And as a way to develop my writing and express my dismay at the worsening congestion at a nearby intersection, I imitated Shakespeare to manufacture a soliloquy titled The Highway Engineer's Monologue. It was debuted at an engineering conference in Seattle by chance. As I was presenting a method to estimate the dollar value of congestion at intersections, I heard snoring. To liven it up, I delivered, to build or not to build. That is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the delays and stops at an outrageous junction, or to take arms against a jam of traffic by building a roundabout. When I ended, someone called me the engineer's poet laureate. I was so tickled that in a hotel that night, I was sleepless in Seattle, gleefully thinking that my passion was not a waste of time after all. My alter ego said, delivering poetry is not public service, but a waste of time. Instead of arguing with my other self, I chose to be civil. I'm a civil engineer. I reasoned that delivering poetry indeed does not build highways, but it betters my diction, which in turn helps me express my ideas to better serve the public. Today, I would not ask you to start delivering poetry. You have your own passion. Is it horse riding or golf, ball chasing? Never let your alter ego or anyone chase you away from your passion. Whatever it is you love to do, pursue the passion that is in you. It's a relaxing deed to do, an endeavor for a better you. It gives you glee and makes you shine. How could it be a waste of time? Mr. Toastmaster.
Very nice, Jonathan. Thank you so much. I enjoyed your speech very much. Well, we'll get a chance to talk here in a second, but at this point, we can excuse the evaluation contestants and the sergeant-at-arms to your breakout room or rooms, as the case may be, and you and I will get a chance to talk to each other. Now, I remember you said you're from the Philippines and you speak Tagalog, of course. That's your main language. I'm always fascinated with people who are not born in an English-speaking world, but you've been here a long time and you have excellent handling of the English language. But what language do you think in? Do you think in Tagalog or in English? Or is it a combination?
I just think of English. And I also have a photographic memory. So if I write a speech, after writing it, I got it memorized. Maybe it's from the memorizing poetry.
Wow. That's an amazing talent. I wish I could do that. Well, I'd like to ask a couple of civil engineering kind of questions, and maybe this is going to be more on a construction kind of side, but I'm always interested in the surface, the state of the surface of Interstate 90, for instance, between here and Seattle, because it's kind of a lifeline. I know I still have a lot of relatives in the Seattle area. I moved to Spokane a long time ago, but it's always a scary thing to go across that span of highway, not knowing what the construction's going to be, what the surface of the road's going to be. Is it going to be icy? Is it going to rain? Is there going to be construction? How do you keep track of all that? How do you help us cope?
Well, there is actually a website that shows cameras at different locations on state highways. So if you check it out, you can check the traffic conditions on a particular location. I'm sure I-90 have several cameras. And that's unfortunately outside of my area. I'm in Southwest Washington. So I don't go to I-90 a lot. I'm like in Vancouver area, the smaller area of Washington. So, but there are cameras that you can check out.
That was kind of a gotcha question. I think what I really want to say is I don't want to go to Seattle. It's too crowded. It's too busy, and I don't want to go. So I want to make sure that the road is bad and it's icy and there's lots of snow. So forgive me. That was not a fair question to ask you.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, I think we are asked that a lot.
Well, what area do you work with for DOT down in the southwest corner of the state?
So I moved from different areas. I used to be in traffic, doing traffic signal timing and doing traffic analysis. Then I was in design and construction. So right now I'm in drainage and hydraulics. So you guys, when you're driving on the highways, you don't see the culverts underneath. And this being a very rainy state, we have so many culverts and most of them have issues. And so I'm currently the hydraulics engineer for Southwest region.
So you must deal with some of the the animal overpasses that are being put on for deer and
Yes, we
cougars
had
and
one on Highway 97, for example. I think close to Golden Vale. We built an it's like an under crossing for wild animals.
what a great
About,
idea.
yeah,
I'm
it's a
sure the
safety
animals
issue.
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a safety issue. Yeah, we cannot just relocate the signs, the deer crossing sign somewhere else.
Well, what advice would you give kids coming up now in, for instance, in high school, about if they're interested in engineering, civil engineering specifically? You know, what should they work on? What should they be looking to do in their course load?
I think a general civil that will you can go anywhere after graduating. My major actually is in the structural, but I ended up in highways. So I think once you have the civil engineering degree, you can go anywhere.
That's good. I don't know if a lot of kids really realize some of the professions that they can choose where they really have skills that are applicable anywhere in the world, really.
And we have technicians where they did not have engineering degrees, but they ended up learning the work on the job. And we have very smart high school graduates where you train them well and they are very good once they
Excellent.
learn the job.
All right, Jonathan, thank you very much for your speech.
Thank you.
I enjoyed talking to you. Thank you very much. Any parting words for our audience? We're all hanging on your every word. The topic of your speech was a waste of time. That's a great topic, because we all wonder whether we're doing anything that's a waste of time.
Yeah, definitely. Just speaking tonight is not a waste of time. It's an opportunity to improve yourself.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Our I think enough time has passed here. Victoria, if I'm too early, let me know. But our order of evaluation contestants are as follows, and I believe I heard that all of them were here. So Roy Jones will be contestant number 1. Wei-Ling Zhu will be contestant number 2. Douglas Crook will be number 3. And number 4 will be Pam Beasley. Pam Beasley. So that's Roy, Wei-Ling, Douglas, and Pam. Let's see, evaluator number 1, can you hear me and see the pin on the timer?
Not yet. We are just retrieving him from the breakout room.
All right. Well, we'll sit tight then. I was going to tell
Hello?
Jonathan.
Oh, there he is.
I have been summoned.
You must be Roy Jones.
That is correct.
Excellent. All right. Well, I will mute myself and you can proceed. The title of your speech is $4.5 million.
No. No. Valuation. No title.
Ah, all right. All right, Roy, take it away.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for the opportunity to evaluate your speech titled A Waste of Time. And it certainly was not a waste of time. I felt like the purpose of your speech was to inspire, and I certainly took away a very helpful message. Your speech was autobiographical, telling of your own story, and it was chronological. starting from when you were in the Philippines doing a show hosted by your mother, and then in high school, and then on to when you were in college or about to go to college and choosing a career or a major. And you talked about some challenges, that you had a passion, but that there were naysayers, there were people that were telling you to give up. And it somewhat surprised me that this is in the body, that one of the chief naysayers was your alter ego. It was that voice in the back of your head saying, you're not going to be able to make a living at this, and you're going to starve. And so you talked about how you kind of made a compromise with, or even relented with that voice, and chose a more traditional major. Then you kind of fast forwarded very quickly to when you are in your career as a civil engineer, and there's a tree falling upon you while you're near Mount St. Helens. And this is one part, I'm a very dramatic person, and I felt like your background right there with Mount St. Helens could have really been emphasized at that point, and even possibly, there's a tree right there behind you and falling on your head. But it really worked well, I felt, and I felt that the background really accentuated that. More about how you were able to bring back that passion and have that accentuate your career. I felt like the pun was very clever. You said that you were civil because you are a civil engineer, and so those are two different uses of the word civil. And I felt that was certainly humorous to me. In conclusion, your poem or your summation in soliloquy form really wrapped it up. And I feel that if you were to really take the speech even to the next level, if you could have some type of introduction also in poetry form, I think that would really knock it out of the park. Ultimately, an excellent speech, very polished. It was apparent to me that you've spent a lot of work on it, and I was very much inspired, which is the purpose of your speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Now let's take a minute of silence while the evaluators can make their notes, and we'll come back in a minute.
Hello. This is Wailing. Can you hear me?
Is that
Hello?
Wei-Ling?
Oh, hello. Yes. So let me make sure that I pin the timer.
I'm timing the minute that we have in between speeches, and we're about halfway there, and then you can start.
Oh.
Brent, that's 1 minute.
I concur. All right, very good. Our next contestant is Wei-Ling Zhu, and we've already established that she can hear and talk to us, so take it away, Wei-Ling. Thank you.
Can I just one more second, because I cannot pin the timer for some reason. Okay, so I lost her again. Chat. Okay, so I guess I would just scroll all the way to her, and then I can see her. Sorry about that. I don't know why I cannot pin her. This will work.
I think you can click on the timer window and then bring it up to the top of the screen so that you can see
Okay.
her.
Okay.
Just
So
drag
I'll
it.
bring it all the way to the top of the. Okay. How about I don't use the speaker mode. I apologize. Okay. Speaker mode. Let me see. Okay, there. Oh well, never mind. I don't want to play with that anymore. I will just make sure that I can see. Okay. All right. Good evening, Madam Contest Chair, and Mr. Toastmaster, and my fellow contestants. Thank you, Jonathan, for such a truly exemplary speech. You effectively used the tool of vocal varieties, such as the tone, the speed, the volume. You used them all to perfection. And your spoken language was clear, and your word choice was fabulous. I was so impressed. And your pacing was just right. I really appreciate it. I was able to follow everything you said. So the topic, a waste of time. Well, as a Chinese immigrant myself, how often I ask myself this exact same question. When I wanted to sing, and I have the passion of singing, but I have to balance the book. I'm a CPA. Well, when I wanted to dance, I love to dance, but I have so many obligations on my plate. A waste of time. You opened the speech with a wonderful and very attractive, captivating hook that set the stage. That was back in December, years ago in Philippines. And the poetry. And that was so captivating. The Christmas bell drew me into the picture. And you go on to talk a lot of details about your high school experience and your singing, and particularly struck me about the choice of the Shakespeare, to and not to do, not to do, to be, not to be. I love that poetry. To be, not to be is my favorite saying to many people. And you went on to talk about your college. You have the life changers. You went to the hospital and you were worried that you lost memory, and you lost memory of the Shakespeare. And that was so touching. It really drowned my heart. Then immediately, very smoothly, you transition into the Seattle scene, the conference. And I love how you quote Sleepless in Seattle. It really struck people's minds because that is a very well-known movie. And again, you tie it back into the point is your passion about poetry and versus your profession in the transportation and design, the engineer to design the system. And my goodness, that really made your point. And I keep thinking about myself, it's I'm mirroring, I'm watching the mirror at myself and try to fit everything you said into it. And I just appreciate all the things that you have mentioned about in the conference, the detail. And of course, I love how dramatically you incorporated the stories. You are just a very fabulous, you're very effective storytelling. You have very good storytelling technique. And overall, you accomplished a very well organized, a very compelling speech. And I found your speech very persuasive. Well, as far as something to challenge yourself, you may want to consider using the stage to your advantage, but that is just nitpicking, my 2 cents, to make your speech more powerful. Overall, you've done a remarkable job. I wanted to congratulate you for a speech well done. Thank you, Jonathan. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Wei Ling. We appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Now we'll take a minute of silence before our next speaker.
That's 1 minute, Brent.
All right, thank you. Our next contestant is Douglas Crook from Clarkston. Douglas, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you especially for Mr. Ian, who gave us a very fascinating speech, a bit of personal history. He talked about how he had this passion and he had allowed his friends and eventually himself to giving up on his passion. And then how after an accident with a falling tree, he regained his passion. How he was able to find a use for his passion, and even to give us a flavor to doing his regular job for the Department of Transport. He had personal accident and anecdotes. He had interesting quotes of poetry, including his own, and he interspersed it with humor. Besides that, looking at something to improve, that's hard. It was a very excellent speech, and I'm just having trouble trying to think of something that would improve it. Maybe some more recent poetry that he has used. So to sum up, it was a bit of personal history outlining how poetry had been a force in his life, how he'd been forced to give it up or thought he was being forced to give it up. And then finally coming back to poetry and having it be a significant part of his life again. And to improve, maybe to update, keeping us up with the poetry that he has memorized or written on by himself. So thank you, Mr. Ian, and thank you, Toastmasters.
Thank you, Douglas. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Pam Beasley,
We need a minute.
1 minute.
and we'll take a minute in between. Thank you.
That's 1 minute.
Thank you. Our next contestant is Pam Beasley, who hails from Spokane. The floor is yours, Pam.
Can you hear me?
I can, yes. I think we all can.
Okay, Jonathan, I loved your speech. It was absolutely not a waste of time in any way. This was just a great, fun speech. So many things that were big positives about it. I liked the use of the music. You had the nerve to sing, the poetry throughout the whole thing, the rhymes. You had so much humor in making your point. I just wrote down a couple of the things you said that really made me laugh. The person that told you your take-home pay wouldn't even take you home. And then when you were describing your fit of nerves and you said you were sleepless in Seattle, and of course your soliloquy, but we'll come back to that. I think you did a wonderful job in pieces of this Zoom. You had just absolutely great eye contact, something I struggle with. So I was looking for it, and very good use of voice, different tones of voice, pause, pacing. That was really nice. And a piece of your speech that really made it relatable was your alter ego. We all could relate to that. I think all of us have this inner critic that just hammers us down and often causes us to lose out on our dreams. So that was really nice, the way you described that alter ego. I have a couple of suggestions, but they mostly had to do with Zoom. Of course, you did wonderfully, like I said, with the Zoom, with the eye contact. The virtual backgrounds are kind of difficult because when you're moving, they can flicker. And I think especially if you're very large in the screen, then any movement is just distracting, a little bit distracting. And similarly, because you were up so close to your camera, then hands, arms, posture, I saw some shoulder movements. So obviously you were moving around in the space, but it might have worked a little better had you stood back, maybe 3 feet more from the camera. Something of that. The capper, as far as I'm concerned with your speech, was that soliloquy. It was funny. It was a perfect illustration of how you used poetry to lift yourself out of that hole that you were in when everybody was snoring at you. And it was just a perfect example of what you were trying to tell us. It told your message before you told us your message. So great presentation. And that soliloquy just was like the icing on the cake. To summarize, I loved your speech. It was absolutely not a waste of time, Jonathan. Just burnish those little tiny Zoom pieces a little bit and keep on writing great poetry. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pam. Very interesting. All right, that's our last contestant. So with that, the District 9 evaluation contest is concluded. The judges and ballot counters are excused to their respective breakout rooms. Now we have an opportunity to talk to the individuals who we have heard speak or give their evaluations tonight, and wait for the tabulation of the results and the actual end of the contest. And I will unsheath my camera so you can see me. Our first contestant was Roy Jones. I note with interest, Roy, that you are from or live in Pendleton. That's not a whole lot of distance away from the city of Salem, where my sister lived for many, many years, and I had a chance to go down and visit her. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, given all of your experience in Toastmasters, do you consider yourself to be a mentor to new members? Now, you don't have to be a mentor on paper or assigned that role. I think all of us are mentors in Toastmasters, whether we really intend to be or not, because we profess the goals of Toastmasters. We talk about it. We go to the meetings. We exercise the different roles and possibilities during the meetings, and we speak. We speak. I said it 3 times because it's the most important thing that we do here. And so, sort of by default, we are all mentors, and other people are watching us and learning from us. So do you consider yourself to be a mentor, and if so, what do you bring to the table in that kind of a role?
Absolutely. I feel like we are all mentors. Shakespeare, thinking back to Jonathan's wonderful speech, Shakespeare talked about the world as a stage. Well, in a very real way, in a Toastmaster meeting, we are on stage. And so we are there to welcome guests, to welcome new and prospective members. At the club that I belong to is Cayumawa Toastmasters, and it is a club that it started as a corporate club, and it's now been a bit of a hybrid, but it is still sponsored and hosted at Wild Horse Resort and Casino. We have a management training program that has kind of been, through the pandemic has been difficult. But while it was running and functioning, one of the things that we did is we had these individuals that were going through the management training program come through Toastmasters and see what Toastmasters had to offer them as they're looking to advance in their career and take the next step. And so I had the privilege of being able to escort them to their meeting, make sure that they felt comfortable, introduce them around, and absolutely that is a mentor role, even though I did not have an official title. But absolutely, I would say that every member is a mentor. Thank you.
Interesting answer. Very good. Thank you very much. And I wanted to ask you, while I have you on the stage here, the club name, Ke-Uma-Wa, is that a contraction of 3 different place names?
It is. I don't recall when we started the club, or when the club was started, because I was not here at that time, it had a different name for maybe a few months, and it was quickly changed to Cayumawa. That is a contraction of Cayuse, Umatilla, and Walla Walla, which are the 3 tribes that make up the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation. Wild Horse is, of course, owned and operated by the tribe, and as a corporate club, that, of course, is very important to remember that history and that purpose.
Absolutely. Very, very good. I had no idea about the name of the club. Thank you very much for that explanation.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Now, if Wei Ling can still hear me and we can see and hear Wei Ling, I have a question for you. And by the way, Wei Ling, I remember you from the symphony office and dealing with you as part of the structure there. It's nice to hear you again.
Thank you, Brent.
I have a question for you. Who would you like to have lunch with and why? Now, the thrust of this question is, think of somebody that is from your past or from your family or from local government or your organization. Could be from the United States government, could be some other country's person. But I'm interested to hear what you have to say about who that person might be to have lunch with and why.
Well, that is a very good question. In fact, I love to go out to lunch with many people. Now, if you make me choose, and I have to say absolutely one, and I would say that the one that to the very top would be my parents. I know that this may sound a little bit interesting for a lot of people, but I cannot really put it in words about the kind of feeling when I go out to either dinner or lunch with my parents. We are very close. They are just very good audience. They listen to me all the time, and they always smile with the huge admiration on their face. I have a feeling that they probably don't even remember what I talk about, but they just like to hear me talk. But I have the joy, and seeing them wow and seeing them happy, it made me feel so comforting and made me feel so good. And again, I would love to go out to lunch with many people. However, if you give me 1 hour of lunch and then I need to pick who I would pick to go out with, and I would definitely take my parents out for lunch. Thank you, Brent.
That's a great answer. Thank you very much. It's great to hear your voice again. Thank you, Waylene.
Thank you.
All right, now contestant number 3 was Douglas Crook from Clarkston. Hopefully, Douglas, you can hear and see me. I can see you. There you are. I have a question for you as well, and just to get like the other 2 questions I've asked our contestants, just to get to know a little bit more about you and what you what your thinking is about Toastmasters. But I'm interested in your take on whatever the most pressing problem you feel there is today for the United States, and how you would approach going about to solve it. Now, maybe solving some of the problems of the United States would take longer than we have tonight for an answer, but you can give it a try, and feel free to give us a sense of what you would do. Now, I'm not saying you're the president or the Speaker of the House or anything like that. You could pretend that you are the imperial master, perhaps, of the United States, and we'll just let it go from there. You can choose whatever role you like.
Oh, this is really difficult. Oh, well, personally, I think that our greatest problem is the divisiveness, the way that people are demonizing each other just for holding a different idea, a different ideology, so that we're not listening to each other, and we aren't able to solve any other problems because we're too busy backbiting and brick throwing at each other. How to solve that's really difficult. People seem to be locked into their own way of thinking. They don't want to hear about another way of thinking about things. Somehow got to find a neutral mediator somehow to help people to see things that aren't all one conservative way or one liberal way. We're humans, so no way is going to be right all the time. So just trying to find some way to get people to listen to each other and think. That would be the biggest thing to do to begin solving problems.
Very good. I apologize. That question is so far-reaching, and it can really go any direction you want it to do, and it's very difficult to answer. But I got that question one day from my son, and I had a hard time responding to him. And he and I are of different eras of life, and it just took a time to get together and decide what we agree on. And there's very little we don't agree on. But thank you very much, Roy. I appreciate it. Or Douglas. Thank you very much. Now, Pam Beasley was our 4th contestant. Pam, I wanted to ask you something about your long career in the transfusion service. Now, you know that I was an IT manager over at PAML, and so I'm familiar with transfusion service at least a little bit. But I wonder, what have you learned in Toastmasters that would make you more effective in the transfusion service if you were there today? What do you think? I mean, given your hindsight, would it have been better for you to be a member of Toastmasters before you got into the transfusion service, or after?
That there's a lot of ways to look at that, Brent. I'll tell you, Actually, that was why I got involved with Toastmasters, was because besides managing the department in two different places over a period of 30 years, the second place I worked, we had a school of medical technology that was run through Sacred Heart, but we taught the transfusion portion of that. So we had those kids for about 6 weeks to teach them how to do cross-matching and stuff. And I could not get up in front of a group of college students, even though I knew this material well enough that I have like a master's degree in transfusion medicine, pre-transfusion testing. I couldn't do it, stand up in front of those kids and tell them stuff. That was actually what got me started with transfusion. Something that would have helped would have been maybe the table topics experience. If you could apply a lot of stress to table topics, because you often find yourself in any laboratory, not just transfusion and hematology, in any department in the lab, you find yourself under a huge amount of stress to get something done right now. You have to do it perfectly, but you have somebody hectoring you. You know, you have the doctor on the phone, you have the nurse calling because the doctor's already called you twice and yelled at you. So now, and you need to maintain calm and professional demeanor, but you also have work to get done, which you can't do when you're on the phone. So working on some of that, I will tell you that one of the people that worked for me had that experience and was not a Toastmaster, but I might have done the same thing myself. And they had called and wanted something that couldn't be done. They wanted plasma right now. It's frozen. You can't infuse an ice cube. So it had to be thawed. So he, it takes 20 minutes. And he called back and told the tech that answered the phone, "You're killing my patient." And she said, "You don't need any help." I think of those, those moments, those unguarded moments, and think, well, maybe in all the years I've been in Toastmasters, I've learned to put a little bit of a lock on my lips sometimes.
All right, Pam, thank you very much. What an answer. That's terrific. That's terrific. Well, I see that a couple of the judges have reappeared on my screen as I look up here at my huge monitor. I think if that's the time for to announce the placements of our contest, were there any time disqualifications?
Yes, sir. We had one disqualification for time.
Gosh. All right, Vicky, are you going to announce the placements, or is the chief judge?
I am going to leave that privilege to the chief judge.
All right, chief judge, it is your show.
Thank you very much, sir. For the 2022 Spring Conference Evaluation Contest, third place is Douglas Crook. Second place is Roy Jones. And first place is Pam Beasley. Congratulations to all. Madam Toastmaster.
All right, if we could get those three winners to turn on your video for a screenshot of the winners. There you are. I see Douglas. I see Roy. I see Pam. Yay. I don't know how to turn mine off. There you go. All right, congratulations to all of our contestants. Thank you very much for participating. It's been a grueling evening, I'm sure, but hats off to all three of you. Thank you very much. And with that, I will turn the session back to our leader, Victoria.
Thank you, Brent, very much. And thank you for the contestants and for our judges and for the audience. I appreciated everyone's participation tonight, especially our target speaker. We
Yeah.
couldn't do this without Jonathan. We could not do it without Jonathan. So Jonathan, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
And I'm
you
glad
for
you
the
didn't have to make
evaluation.
the trip over on your roads Department of Transportation. We have a member of our club who is one of the budget people for DOT. I won't tell you about how she complains that everybody wants more money than there is, but it seems to be the standard thing with someone who has to manage budgets. So again, I can't express the gratitude I feel appropriately in words. Toastmaster hasn't taught me enough of them yet for all the people who have made this contest tonight. That includes our target speaker, our contestants, our judges, our Toastmaster, our Sergeant at Arms, the timers, the ballot counters, everyone behind the scenes. Thank you very much and have a great evening.
Madam
Victoria, I think
Toastmaster,
Roy
if
has
you
something to say.
Oh, we have someone. Okay, I think I recognize Nancy.
Roy has something to say. That's all I wanted to mention.
While we're talking about Jonathan, I just wanted to say that it can be very intimidating talking to what is essentially a black screen. And Jonathan had the most encouraging expressions the entire time. And I observed that. And so I just want to say thank you, Jonathan, not only for your target speech, but also for the encouragement that you showed through your expressions as the evaluations were happening. Thank you.
Thank you. And I know that the screen would be awful, but I said, well, I'm sure I will hear about it from the evaluators.
Yes.
There wasn't too much negative to say. Thank you for having the bad screen. Gave me a comment.
Madam
See you guys.
Contest Chair,
Yes, I'm listening.
we would like to have the 3 winners and our target speaker please remain on after we have adjourned, so that way their photos can be taken and put up for celebration throughout the entire weekend.
Sounds perfect. So I think that's our very gracious request to depart. And I think that's what we should all do. Thank you again, judges, timers, all of those. And Jonathan, Pam,
Give a
Roy,
reminder
and
for
Doug.
tomorrow morning.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Ed. You want to give that reminder? Or do you want me to do it? Or do you want Karen to do it?
Karen, go ahead.
All right, don't forget that tomorrow is a full day of our spring conference. We start at 8 a.m. sharp. We look forward to seeing all of you. And don't forget, we will be closing out the afternoon with our international speech contest. So please join us for a full day of some very excellent speakers and topics, as well as fun and frivolity along the way.
Thank you.
You're
Good
welcome,
night,
sir.
everyone. Enjoy yourselves.
I'm going bye-bye.
Bye, Vicky. Bye, everyone.
Okay, you all 4 stay on the screen. Thank you very much. We'll see if we can get this working.
A question from Mr. Aboyan. Did you ever know someone named Cliff Compton?
What's the name?
Cliff Compton.
Where does he work?
He worked in Olympia, but he worked in other places too, I think.
No, we are a very large organization, so. But I'm sure I can find his name.
Okay, Roy, if you can look at the screen, I'm going to take your screenshot. All right. Perfect. And now Pam, I'm going to take yours. All right, so I've got Roy, the 4, okay, and Jonathan, that is a great smile. Just stay like that. Okay, so I have the group and then individuals for everybody. Thank you all for hanging around.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you, Jonathan. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, sometimes it's so hard to beg, but what the heck?
I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. It was a wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it.
I have a question about registering for tomorrow's event.
Yes.
So to get there, I'm supposed to Google, go to the D9 Toastmasters page.
Right. tmd9.org.
Yep, I'm there. Okay.
And scroll down till you find where it says to register for the conference.
Okay. So it says you register in advance for this meeting. Okay, that is what I needed. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Yes.
All right,
Good
very
night,
good.
guys. Have
Good
a
night,
nice
Jonathan.
weekend.
Thank you very much. Have a
Nice
great
meeting
one.
you all.
Bye.
Nice to meet. Everyone is
Karen,
dismissed. Yes, Vicky.
Did those come through for you?
I have no idea. Where am I
Is it
looking?
Your email.
Oh, okay. That. Beautiful.
Job.
Thank you very much. Ksenia, thank you very much for being here tonight and helping.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry I was late trying to get in there. I thought I could do this on my iPad, but then it decided that it didn't want to do things today.
That's all right. We've had quite a lot of different computer issues running today, so not a problem. I appreciate everything that both of you have done, and I look forward to seeing you both tomorrow.
All right.
Karen, I love your shirt. That is so
Thank you.
great.
Thank you. So,
I
all
was
right, we're all
wondering
wearing blue.
actually about tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Because it's a very long day.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you, I guess Victoria's a co-host also, if you guys would be interested in doing like shifts, if that makes sense.
That would be great. Would you prefer during the morning or would you prefer doing the international contest?
I could do the contest. I've done the contest before, so I'm comfortable with that section.
Okay. So
But I
yeah,
don't
it's supposed to start
know.
at 4:30. Log in whenever that makes sense before.
All right, that would be great.
All right. And I will see you tomorrow. Vicky, I will see you bright and early.
I will probably hang out a bit for the conference also, but
Oh,
that way I
that's
don't have to
great.
be.
Right before the contest is the second vice president giving her keynote presentation.
Yes, I'm planning to make it to that. So I'll probably be in and out all conference. I have 2 children. I don't want to sit in front of my computer all day. So.
Oh, I know how that is.
All right, great. I will see you tomorrow.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
You too, Nick.
All right.
Bye.
Good job. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.